Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Friday and another casual champion review. I am very sick right now, but we've been going for a year now. I got sick last time, and I still did. I ain't missing the day because today we're talking about ksante bars. Also, I have. There's no way in my current state I was able to record this voiceover while playing the game at the same time. So this will be like the Fizz video where I am recording myself separately from the actual gameplay. So sorry, I know a lot of people like the little funny interactions. There won't be any of that today. Though next week, hopefully I'll be back. We'll be better. And next week will be Skarner. But the old one, we'll be doing specifically old Skarner to commemorate him because the new one's coming out. You know, it also is great. Fan art section. Look at them Kasantes. Look at these guys. There's Tope there as well. These guys gay. Good for them. That was a bit of a callback to the Caesar Rewind. Which, my opinions of ksante have changed quite a lot since that season rewind. We'll get to that later, but thank you, fellas, for all the fan art section. Sorry I don't sound as enthusiastic as I normally do. Thank you, fellas, though. You're amazing. That's awesome. So this is going to be interesting. I actually did play 2 games with ksante. The first one went absolutely horribly because the one game I don't ban Yone, and of course he gets picked on the enemy team and I get stomped. But now we're fighting the other wind guy, the worst brother. Well, no, actually, Yone is much worse than Yasuo, actually. I don't know how League of Legends maybe end up liking Yasuo because he's not Yone. So ksante actually has quite a lengthy bio. So ksante grew up in Nizuma, told stories of how the great city was founded, its people fleeing from the tyranny of the Shriman Empire. I don't think it was with Azir yet. I think this was later. But he trained to become a warrior, told the stories by his father and his mother about the great warriors of Nizuma, and he wanted to become one just like them, defending his homeland from monsters and warlords alike. And through his years of training, he had many friendships, but none closer than that of Tope, who he would grow much closer to over the years, and eventually confessed his love for him. Because, yes, ksante is gay. He's like one of the few League champions that is openly gay. I think the only other ones is really, they kind of allude to it with Twisted Fate and Graves in their story. They're kind of like, well, I don't know. Maybe should we do this? I don't know. And then Leon and Diana had their love story a bit, and Vi and Kate a bit, and Arcane now. But Kasante's lore is very openly like, yeah, I'm gay. Usually with League stuff, like with Nico, they still haven't confirmed if Nico's a lesbian or not, even though it's like, come on, guys. It's pretty obvious. Back to the lore. Yes, he fell in love with Tope and was astonished to discover that Tope felt the same way as he did, and so they became close. So close that they fought in nearly every battle together. But then, word on the horizon of a brand new threat to Nizuma, the Bakai, had arrived. New monsters and the forces of Azir and Xerath, even though they focus more on Xerath later. But anyway, these new beasts that are failed ascended, but not in the same way the old Bakai were, which we'll get into that later. But these Bakai were failed ascended animals, which should never go the ascension ritual ever. And one of these creatures was a grand lion cobra hybrid mix creature, and was terrorizing the desert, terrorizing the city. And so Tope and ksante are tasked out to go defeat it, but they can't because the monster is pretty much unkillable. Any non-lethal blow dealt to him, or dealt to it, I don't know its gender is. Whatever non-lethal blow dealt to this creature, it will just regenerate almost immediately. Time goes on. I don't know how long it goes on for, but they're fighting this creature for a long time, and ksante grows angry because they go on multiple hunts to try and fight it. They got carded too many times. I'll do Monster Hunter references later in the video. And ksante grows angry, unable to slay this beast, eventually becoming completely obsessed. And Tope tried studying the monster for weaknesses, for any kind of battle strategies to help to beat it, but ksante's too headstrong in his own confidence of his brute strength to be able to beat it. And so he keeps doing the same thing he's always done, just training to become stronger, to beat this beast, becoming fully engrossed in it. It becomes completely one-track minded. It's the only thing he cares about because the great heroes of Nizuma never failed in the past, so he can't now. So it becomes more about him living up to the expectations of his ancestors, more about his own self-worth and self-pride than actually defeating the monster in the first place. And Tope sees this change in his demeanor and tries to sway him away from this path. and it doesn't really work. Ksante ends up pushing Tope away, believing that, oh, your strategies just suck. We tried everything. I'm going to do what I'm doing because I will get better. I will win this day. I don't need your help anymore, Tope. And so they slowly become more and more distant over every battle until eventually decide, okay, we're just parting ways now. And over the next year, which I can't believe how long they've been fighting this monster for. Like, even I didn't struggle with Fatalis that much. Like, I would have thought the monster would have destroyed very many cities and hundreds of people by this point. Ksante realizes that he does need help. He needs Tope to be able to take down this beast, and he misses him dearly. So he goes to go find Tope, only to find that Tope's moved on. He's gone to a neighboring region near Nezuma, but Tope's aunt is there and gives him Tope's journal, which contains a whole host of different battle strategies and tactics and theories of where this beast came from, what his weaknesses are, and Ksante realizes, oh, maybe I should have listened to him. I got too caught up in myself that I didn't realize my own partner may have had some insight into how to defeat this creature. So he's basically swallowed his pride at this point, realizing that he can't accept other people's assistance. It's not all about him anymore. Also, this was pretty cool. Pride overtaking him no more, he decides that now it's time to fight the beast one last time. And you guys already know how it goes because that was his cinematic trailer, him fighting the beast one last time and slaying it. Taking the beast's hide for his own and forging it into his Ntofos. I don't know how you pronounce it. They're like big tonfas, basically. And the reason they are the way they are is because he shatters them into blades after being blunt objects, but because it was based off the regenerating hide of the creature, they just regenerate back into the blunt objects after a while. Kind of like Fatalis a bit. You guys know Fatalis lore from Monster Hunter, where when you kill Fatalis, it's supposedly that the armor set that they make out of Fatalis gear is still alive and will eventually overtake the hunter who's wearing it and will transform them into a new Fatalis. So I don't know if that's going to happen to Ksante, though that would be kind of interesting. So now Ksante is hailed as the pride of Nezuma, never letting ego cloud his judgment again, and now he's set on a mission to fight to protect his people. It's not about him anymore, it's about the people around him. So if Azir or Xerath or their Bakai forces or whoever ever dare to march on his homeland, he will be there to defend them. And of course we get a little bit of extra closure, because this was back when Riot actually still made color stories for champions, and we got a little bit of closure with him and Tope, because he discovers Tope and they have a little bit of a get together talking about, you know, how they've been with each other. And unfortunately for Ksante, Tope has found a new partner and is in fact getting married, so he's not going to be able to be with Tope any longer. But in a weird twist compared to how these stories usually go, is Ksante is actually happy for him. Also, I cannot believe I didn't kill a single person here. That was stupid. It's kind of wholesome, because usually when you have stuff like that, like, oh, I can't believe my partner left me and they remarried or found someone new. But Ksante's actually genuinely happy for him, because Ksante doesn't really care about preserving himself in that way, so to speak. Like, can be happy for the people around him, that he's made other people's lives better, that he can make other people's lives better. And the fact that Tope is happy makes him happy. And so they just continue as friends, both apologizing to each other for their misdeeds, which really Ksante was the one who got wrapped up in his own pride. I don't think Tope really did anything wrong, but a kind of wholesome ending and a bit of closure, which is good because it's a nice wholesome ending. But also, you know, where does Ksante go from here? They've kind of established that he's just the protector of Nezuma. Ideally, if you're going to have any more lore with him, which there never will be, by the way, if you're going to have any more lore with Ksante, it would probably be about his conflict with Xerath and Azir. Primarily Xerath, because Xerath seems to be the one who's really honing in on creating the Bakai army, which that's something I did want to mention. So, for the fellows who aren't aware, the Bakai have existed in the League lore for a very long time. They were basically failed ascended. When people undergo the ascension ritual, they basically have to be proven that they're worthy, or else they turn to Bakai. And Bakai are like ascended. They have the animalistic features, but not in the same way that the ascended beings do. So when the Bakai transform, they do get the same immortality as the ascended beings do, but they don't get this pristine furry form. I guess they get this instead, this horrible mangled creature of a form that they just look like horrible abominations. And while they have immortality, they're not practically invincible like the ascended are. Renekton, there's a short story where Renekton basically gets his arm chopped off and he would have died, but he just regenerates it all back. The Bakai can't do that, and they've lost most of their sanity. That's a whole storyline with Nasus, where he's basically trying to reform the Bakai to help be a part of his. I shouldn't say army, just scholars and stuff help guard his library and try to bring them back to the world of sanity, because most of the Bakai have completely lost their minds. So Kasante's lore introduced the Bakai as separate creatures. They're still called Bakai, but they're not the same Bakai as the ones we've known before, because these are just animals. These are still failed ascended, but that's because an animal was never going to pass the ascension ritual, because a lot of the ascension ritual is based on actual moral values, whether or not you're worthy. If you throw an ant under a god ray, it's probably just going to turn into a horrible abomination. And so I like the idea of that, and it gives Xerath a bit of an extra oomph to his own power, because he's already pretty powerful himself, and he has his own he's spreading his power. Who's on Legend of Terra, he can give it to his acolytes, but now he also has horrible monsters at his side. I just wish they would have called it something else, or at least called it like Bakaya Rai or something. I don't know. Just something to differentiate it. Say like, oh yeah, they are technically Bakai, but they're like an offshoot modern version of Bakai. It's just something that bothered me a little bit, I guess. As for his design, I can't unfortunately I can't really zoom in on the character model to show you guys. I guess I'll do it. Oh, that's good time. Wow, that's good timing. Okay, and it's over. This is the issue with recording it in post. So Kasante's design, it's difficult for me to commentate on it because it's definitely not what I was expecting. It's definitely not what I wanted. However, it's a kind of aesthetic that I am not familiar with at all. We know from his insights that he was based primarily on West African aesthetics. I think this is the part where I get them both. Yeah, I think it is. Isn't it great that the 1 and 2 full tank can just do this? Isn't Kasante's gameplay wonderful? So we know from Kasante's dev insights that he was based primarily on West African aesthetics. They were trying to create a new region with Nazuma. And while I like Nazuma, I am not fond of Riot continuing to do this. They did it with Ishtal. They did it with Kathkan with Neela. And then they did it with Nazuma with Ksante, which Ksante released. He was the champion that released right after Neela, so it kind of adds insult to injury. But Riot keeps creating these new regions of Runeterra. Well, there's plenty of regions that need more exploration, like the Void specifically could use a bit more exploration. There's probably some areas in Freljord that'd be nice to explore, but they keep creating new regions and then leaving them to rot. You really think they're going to make another Nazuman champion? Although maybe Tope? They could make Tope a new champion. That could be kind of fun. And Ksante had the benefit of being the first champion in, I think, a near 2-year streak where pretty much all the male champions didn't have a shirt on. So the fact that, especially for a character of his stature, I think it would have been so easy to make Ksante shirtless, and they didn't. I kind of appreciate that on its own merit. But again, it's difficult for me to commentate on like how successful was he at encapsulating West African aesthetics. I don't know, because I am not West African myself, nor am I familiar with that aesthetic in any sense of the idea. I think it's cool that a lot of League champions will try to incorporate actual real-world aesthetics into the universe. We even saw that with Legend of Terra with Neela, where a lot of her followers were starting to incorporate a lot more Indian aesthetics. And that's cool. I like if Kathkan has that general vibe. And just from a basic Google search of West African aesthetics, it's very colorful. So I can see that they tried to incorporate a bit there. My thing with Ksante comes from more of a personal bias, because I was very disappointed. Because, if you fellas don't know, I am a massive, massive, massive fan of Monster Hunter. I love Monster Hunter. I was a bit of a late one to the party. I knew about Monster Hunter for a long time. I knew about Monster Hunter 2 and Try, and I gave it a little spin when I was younger, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. And then World enthralled me, and I'm not like a die-hard Monster Hunter fan. I am technically a World baby, yes, but I love Monster Hunter. So with the prospect that Riot was going to basically make a Monster Hunter champion, with all the teasers, it looked like a Monster Hunter field guide with all the notes and stuff. If you've ever seen a Monster Hunter field guide, it looks pretty much exactly the same. This new region, all this lore teasing that it's a person whose whole goal is to hunt monsters. I'm thinking, oh my god, they're making a Monster Hunter character. And that also would be cool because we don't really get full armor dudes anymore. Back in the day, we used to get them all the time, with Garen and Darius and stuff. But those champions are very old now. So I was ecstatic to see what would a modern Riot Games champion design of a full armor dude look like, especially if you introduce all these crazy Bakai monsters and basing the armor off of those. Because people who don't play Monster Hunter, the whole gameplay loop is that you slay monsters to take their skin and make it into armor and weapons. And ksante did that a little bit with the Nintofos, which are based off of the Cobra line. But I was really hoping that this would be the new attempt to try that, and that ksante would finally be the big full armor dude that I think League has not had an aesthetic like that in so long. Again, you take my opinion on this with a grain of salt because I don't know squat about West African aesthetics. I'm sure if you fellows know about it more than I do, be sure to let me know down in the comments. If I'm ever wrong about this stuff, I of course want to be able to correct myself because I don't want to come off as insensitive. It's just, to me, the thematic that was... I shouldn't say promised, but the thematic that was heavily teased and implied was not really what came to fruition, and it was what I was really hoping for and was very, very excited for. And so I kind of can't help but be disappointed with Kasante's design, even if I do love that his beard makes him look like he has the actual Giga Chad face. That is so funny, and I love that. I kind of wish they gave him a different hairstyle. I love the dreads hairstyle, and I think it looks fantastic on Echo, personally. I like the mohawk, but I think the dreads just work so well with him. But I have seen a growing disdain for the fact that pretty much every black character, black man, I should say, they just stick dreads on them. I mean, even Eddie Gordo in Tekken, I think that's his name, he's getting the dreads now, too. Like, every male black characters getting those things. So it'd be nice to mix it up every now and again. Maybe they'll do that with his skins. I do appreciate how colorful his design is. It reflects the little bit that I know of West African aesthetics about how colorful and vibrant they are. He's got all the purples and reds and stuff. He's very visually interesting to look at. It's just not what I was hoping for, personally. On the subject of his gameplay, as you can see, I am playing him to absolute perfection in this clip. I believe I get a kill here somehow out of this whole situation, which I don't feel like I should. I feel like I messed up 1,000 million times. Yeah, like that. Like, this character is so stupid, man. This has been the thing that has soured the most for me, for ksante, since his release, where I initially really liked him at the start because I thought it was fun. It was a neat idea to have this bruiser tank hybrid playstyle, but as time goes on, the cracks start to show themselves. And those cracks being, realistically, a hyper-mobile full tank that is able to, on a dime, switch to being a high DPS bruiser with Omnivamp that can one-shot you through crowd control. Probably never going to work. And there's a reason that whole Showmaker clip has become as much of a meme as it is, because ksante really is just too overloaded. The idea of him is very fun. I love the idea of the switching back and forth between all-out, though I wish he was just an all-out form the whole time, because his all-out form is very satisfying in his animations and the sound effects, in just how it looks. The base Nintofos don't feel very satisfying, but he is a tank, right? He's not supposed to be that much, but there are plenty of tanks that are very satisfying. Ornn is the one that comes to me specifically. Ornn, despite being a tank, is so satisfying to play, and I don't really get that same satisfaction from ksante, especially after encountering him so many times. It's just kind of soured over time, where I'm just not excited about ksante. Fighting a person who knows how to play this character is absolutely infuriating because it feels like there's nothing you can do. He's basically, what if Yasuo was a tank, but then could switch to one-shotting you like normal Yasuo anyway. It's also the method of, like, Riot, especially with Smolder we saw, right, where Riot has the intrinsic need to buff champions if they're weak at the start. If they release a new champion that's weak, they have to buff it immediately. They can't let people figure it out first, which I think is a horrible mistake because it sullies everyone's impression of the character. I think with Smolder, people think, oh yeah, he's a little weak right now. But let people figure out the build. It was clear people didn't know what to build on him yet. And when you buff him over and over and over and over again, suddenly he's getting like a pentakill every game in LCS, and everyone hates him now. And now he's like the second most popular character in the game, but at what cost? I think actually ksante is like the second the least pick rate or second least win rate top laner in the game right now. and that's from just a whole bunch of nerfs. I did notice while playing this game that you can't insta-cast his W anymore, and apparently that's what caused the weird double casting W bug. I think gameplay-wise, he's just kind of a mess. I don't think this kind of playstyle was ever going to work out in the long run, which is a shame because I think his personality is very charming. If there's one thing that will bring me back to Ksante, it is his undeniable charisma. He is one of the characters in the game, to me, that just makes me smile. There's a few characters in the game like that. Like, obviously, Ivern, because I love my boy Ivern. But some characters which just, like, I just want to listen to their voice lines the whole time because they're just so charming. They just make you feel happy listening to them. As for skins, I think it is very strange that he has gotten not one but 2 music-themed skins. Although, I think that's the way to do a prestige skin, where Empyrean Ksante is just so not Empyrean at all. It is just its own thing entirely. I think that's what prestige skins should be. Whereas, you know, back in the day, they were just gold. Nowadays, they're just fashionista versions of the original skin. I would obviously love if they brought back Beast Hunters as a skin line. And Ksante, perfect opportunity to finally give him a full armor skin line where he's all dressed up in battle gear. You can even make his whole armor gear look like the Cobra Lion. You could even call the skin line like Bakai Hunters or something. And this would have been the part where I said, because I've said this many times, that I would have loved if Riot Forge would have made a Monster Hunter style game and he just had like Ksante, Neela, Rengar, Vayne, all the Monster Hunter characters together as a party. I think that would have been super fun, though Riot Forge is officially retiring now, so that sucks that we'll never get to see more stuff like that. I hope Riot themselves tries to pick up more things. There is rumors that Project F, the Diablo dungeon crawler, is still alive, which would be great. I think we'd all kind of assumed it was dead because it's been nearly 5 years and we've heard nothing. I don't really know what the future for Ksante holds. It sucks in the situation he's landed because, like I said, he is a very charming character. A lot of people do really like his designs. I'm very happy for all of the black folks who feel a connection to him. And I especially love his voice actor. I don't remember his name, and I apologize for that. It's one thing I always admired about Overwatch, which, granted, it's because they bring their voice actors back all the time, but how happy the voice actors were to voice the characters. You know, you'd see, God, his name's not McCree anymore. Is it Cole Cassidy? You see Matt Mercer, you know, going around how happy he was to voice that character. Torbjorn or Tracer, whoever. So happy to voice these characters. And I saw the same thing with Ksante, where his voice actor was just so ecstatic to voice a character, not only because he just really liked them, but one that he felt represented him. And so even though Ksante isn't what I wanted out of a Monster Hunter character, it's kind of undeniable that he did scratch that itch for a lot of people's aesthetic choice that they wanted to see in the game. And, you know, it's not what I wanted, but it's really cool. So I think the game was approaching its end here, which is good, because I think I've rambled and said everything I want to say about Ksante. Hopefully this video wasn't too incoherent to listen to and I didn't ramble too much, because I am sick. I still have to record the High Noon Rapid Fire skin review while I'm like this. I don't know how it's going to go. And I do enjoy doing the live recordings as opposed to doing ones like this where I'm just recording and afterwards, because I do think the reactions are kind of funny. But hopefully we'll be back to normal next week, which thankfully I get to stave off doing Kaisa again because Skarner's rework is launching. And I think from this moment, because there's a lot of good buzz around when we did Briar and Hui and Smolder, that when there's a new champion, I will do a casual champion review for them the week of their release, and then talk about them more when I get to the season rewind, or if I think they're interesting enough, I'll make a full video. But for the VGUs, I do want to make a full Skarner video. So for casual champion review, it's going to be of old Skarner. Be like a nice memoriam, a little bit of a send-off to him, even though I'll still talk about him again in an actual Skarner video. So that was perfect. All right, thank you, fellas. There's not this casual champion review. I'll see you next week for Skarner. Take care of yourselves, okay? Goodbye.